Okay, we shall get started. Can everybody hear me? All right. Okay, so if you are here, and I would appreciate it if you could switch on your cameras so that I can actually see who I'm talking to. So far, I only see 3 people, and the rest are just boxes. Okay, great. Hi everyone. My name is Enoch, and I'm all the way from the other part of the world in sunny Singapore. It's actually currently 12:30 midnight my time. So good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us, joining me today. So the session today is AI Enhanced Lesson Design Process. So make sure you're in the right room. My email is there. So if after the session you have more questions or you want to talk more about what we've been discussing, please feel free to drop me an email and then we can chat further. All right. My school is Boon Lay Garden Primary School, and it's a public school it's an elementary public school based in Singapore. Right. So let's start talking about the AI Enhanced Lesson Design Process. It's a very long name. So I'm going to go through the whys, the whats, and the hows of this process. So first, why? Why a lesson design process that makes use of AI? Why the need for that? So we do know that creating effective lesson plans is both challenging and really time consuming. And it's not just about creating the plan itself, but it's really thinking through the lesson, planning it, even if you don't write it out on paper, but planning in your head, it is a challenging and it's a time consuming process. Yeah. And teachers often struggle with this, not just new teachers or pre-service teachers, but even experienced teachers like myself. Sometimes we struggle to think of what are some good ideas, right, to create good lessons. But we do know that lesson planning is the cornerstone of effective teaching. So we use the word cornerstone because it's really the foundation of an effective learning experience for our students. So if we want our students to enjoy and engage in the learning, we make sure we have to plan properly. Yeah, as the cliche goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So we know that lesson planning is indeed very important. But I'm sure as you sit here, you might be thinking, hey, maybe with AI, and since now Enoch is going to talk about how AI can generate lesson plans, maybe this is that magic bullet that if with AI, I can now stare at my screen and long enough, and the lesson plans will just magically write itself, and I can just take the lesson plan and go into class and I'm settled. So is that really the case? Well, yes and no. So yes, the lesson plans do get written by itself using AI, and I'll show you how in a bit. But the problem is that it's AI's lesson plans are often not very effective. I'm not sure how many of you have really used AI before, and you know that the quality of what AI gives, it's a bit iffy. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so, right? But definitely, the use of AI is a good launch pad. It's a good way to start this whole process and to really give us a leverage into making us better designers of lessons. So which is why I titled my project or this session AI Enhanced. It's not that AI will take over the process, but it's how we can make use of artificial intelligence to enhance this process. So before I go into the process itself, I think it's important for us to understand AI. And this whole conference is really all about AI. I'm not sure which other sessions you've gone to. You may already know all this, but just for the benefit of everyone else, let's understand AI a little bit more. So AI, as we know, has access to a very large data set. And it has that power to compute and to really generate a lot of information for us. Now, the problem with AI is that it has a lot of bias, especially where I'm from, because I'm from Singapore, and a lot of the concepts and the terms that we use is very different from what AI knows. Because AI, most probably, they get their database from the Western countries, from US, from UK. And so a lot of the data is skewed towards that side. So you will see these three terms: e-pedagogy, active learning process, and key applications of technology. Now, these three are very unique terminologies to Singapore. I asked AI to define e-pedagogy before, and its definition is very different from what we understand e-pedagogy to be in Singapore. So given that bias, I know that AI will not be able to generate something that is suitable for my context 100%. I'm not sure about your side. It could be as well that certain terminology, certain concepts may not be so easily understood by AI. So that's one of the big problems. So let me just explain a little bit more, because later on you will see this in my framework and you need to decide whether this is something you want to use or not. And probably it's also something you can learn from me, since I'm from Singapore. So in Singapore, we defined the use of technology with pedagogy and we came up with this term called e-pedagogy. So essentially, it's the practice of teaching with technology for active learning. And so that's what we want. And I know active learning is also a big thing in the US as well, right? So in my school, we make use of this term active blended learning as a way to remind ourselves that this is what we want for our students. We want our students to be active learners. We don't want them to be like passive, just sit behind at the back of the class and just listen to the teachers drone on. We want them to be thinking. We want them to be participating. At the same time, we know that there are pros and cons between using a digital device, an online platform, versus that traditional hard copy, pen and paper discussion mode of learning. So which is why we talk about blending the offline with the online, right? So that is what e-pedagogy is all about. And ultimately, what we want is to nurture that future-ready learner. Because the world that we live in, no matter where you are living in, it's really a technologically transformed world. So how we make use of technology, we understand it in these 7 areas, and we found that these 7 areas are very good ways of making use of technology. So we call it the key applications of technology. So if you want to use technology, it should fall into one of these 7 categories, and this will ensure that when we use technology, it's effective, it's good. And how we design our lesson, it's using this active learning process. So we start our lessons by activating the learning so that our students are primed and ready, whether is it to tap on their prior knowledge or to make sure that they are excited about the learning. Then we move them to promote thinking and discussion. Why? Because like I said, we don't want our students to be passive learner. We want them to be active. We want them to be thinking about what they're learning. And we want that discussion, right? So that they learn not just from themselves or the teacher, they learn from one another. And obviously, we want them to demonstrate how much have they learned. Have you been dreaming the whole time, or are you learning something? And then ultimately, we want to monitor and we want to provide that feedback so that they can continue to improve themselves. And all this is surrounded by the interaction. Whether is it students to the content, student to student, student to teacher, and ultimately student to the community. So that's how in Singapore we plan for lessons using technology. So now, what is this AI-enhanced lesson design process all about? So this process was developed when I was in the US. So I was in the US last year. I just came back in December last year. Came back to Singapore, rather. So I was on the Fulbright Distinguished Award for International Teachers program. And in that program, we were all supposed to do a research project. And so this was actually my research project when I was in Indiana University of Pennsylvania, or IUP. I worked together with 2 amazing professors, Dr. Brian Sharp, Dr. Holly Rogue, as well as with a group of Singapore teachers who expressed interest in this area as well. So together as a group, we actually came up with this entire process that you see here in front of you. And so introducing the AI-enhanced lesson design process. So it started off with just that framework, but then we grew it to become an entire process of how we make use of AI to enhance this lesson designing process. So if you see here at the start, it starts off with a prompt framework where what you put in is what you get from AI. So you need to put in good things if you want to get good things from AI. So that's why we put a lot of thought into how a framework or how our prompts should look like. And you see there, I'm thinking, even before I start putting in things into my framework, I need to think, what content am I teaching? What is a possible pedagogy? I cannot assume that AI knows exactly the kind of pedagogy that I want. Now, sometimes I may not know, and I want AI to suggest, so that's fine. Is there a mode of assessment? Because I also want to make sure that they learn, they understand what they are learning, right? So with all that in mind, and when we put into the prompt framework, then AI is able to generate a lesson plan. Now, but like I said at the start, this lesson plan is not perfect. There are definitely flaws to the lesson plan, but there are also good things about the lesson plan. So there must be a way to analyze and come up with what is good and what is not so good about the lesson plan. So that's where the lesson plan assessment rubric came about. Now, you don't have to use this rubric because this rubric is very skewed towards Singapore context. So it may not be suitable for your context. So I'm sure you have your own way of assessing whether a lesson plan is good, whether it's suitable or not. Even just basically using your own professional knowledge, you can actually see, hey, there's some things not so good about this lesson design or lesson plan. So then after you analyze the lesson plan, that's where you can then start to refine the lesson plan. So the power of AI comes in because we can actually continue a conversation with AI. And I'm sure most of you, if you're here, you've already started using AI. You know that you can ask a follow-up question and AI can respond to you. Unlike searching on Google, when you ask Google a follow-up question, Google doesn't know what you're talking about. But AI, because it's a large language model, it understands and it's able to converse with you like a friend. So I always think of AI as an expert friend. It's a very intelligent friend that I have. Yeah, and that's the power of AI. It's really an intelligent friend that you have with you 24/7. You don't have to worry that I'm waking my friend up just to ask him or her a question. Yeah, and you know that they will give you good quality answers. So then after we've refined the lesson plan, that's where we really want to enact and make sure we benefit our students with this. So because of time, and I want to give you some time to hands-on and try the prompt framework for yourself, I will only be able to focus on two things, just the prompt framework, and then later on, you can also try follow-up prompts, like ask it questions to get it to regenerate lesson plans for you. So the prompt framework takes into consideration two different references. So I came across these two references and I made use of them in my framework. So the first one is this ACDQ framework by Jen Bryan. The second one is this entire framework by Sanli Ramlochan. Yeah, so I made use of these two and I mixed and mashed them together to come up with my own framework. So what you see here is a spreadsheet. And later on, I'll give you the link to where you can go to this spreadsheet and really try it out for yourself. But I'm just going to show you how it works, so at least you have an idea of what's happening. So if you see here, this spreadsheet has yellow parts and other colors. So the other colors are part of the framework, and it's something that you should not change. What changes is the context that you give to AI, and that is your own personal context, and that is the yellow part. So the yellow part is what you change, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so you should see me typing like super, because I fast forward this video, right? So these are what I want AI to generate. So this will be a math lesson for, so in Singapore, we don't call them grade 4, we call primary 4. And my class size is 40, mixability, and all the other information that I need AI to know. So that's the first part. You update this part, the yellow part of the lesson, the prompt framework. And after that, you will then copy and paste what you've typed into ChatGPT or any AI. So some of you may be asking, which tool should I use? So when I was there, when I did my research, I tried many different tools. I tried ChatGPT, I tried Bard, and I tried, okay, I didn't try Copilot. So I tried mainly ChatGPT and Bard. Now it's called Gemini. So it used to be called Bard by Google. I use ChatGPT 3.5, which is a free version, and ChatGPT 4, it's the paid version. So in all my experimentation, I found that ChatGPT 4, which is the paid version, is the best, obviously, because it's the paid version, right? So, but feel free to use any versions or any kind of AI tool. It's this framework doesn't, it really depends on, it allows you to use any AI tool. So what's going to happen is, I'm going to play this. I'm going to stop here first. You will see that after you've typed in those parts in yellow, what I've done is I've collected all the words here and put them together in one paragraph. You notice that I have a part 1 and a part 2. So the idea is because for some reason when you give, I don't know, it could be an AI issue, but when you give it too much information, sometimes AI gets confused because it's just information overload. So I found that like splitting them up into different parts helped AI a little bit better. Yeah, so that's the only reason why I split into 2 main parts. So you will copy the first part into AI and you will see how I do it. So copy and then paste it in. And you will see ChatGPT. So I'm using ChatGPT 4, that it will start to tell you, hey, okay, I can help you with that. And it will actually suggest, hold on. It will actually suggest some of the things that you need to give it. So that's where the second part comes in, and that's the context to give to AI. So then I copy, and you will see what happens. So it now starts to generate a lesson design, a lesson plan. I ask it to create in a table form. Why? Because to me, a table form, it's more familiar. Most of our lesson plans are always in table forms, and it's easier to see the different parts, the categories. The justification is important because I want to get a sense of what AI is thinking about. That will also help me evaluate this lesson plan itself. Okay, so you can see that in just a mere seconds, you already have a lesson design. Right? So, I mean, I was blown away when I saw this because it really helps us as teachers. Now we don't have to come or create a lesson plan from scratch, but we can make use of this to then now evaluate, what works? Is this good enough? Is this something I can use in my lesson? Right? So this is how we generate a lesson plan. So then following that will be to assess how well my lesson plan is created. What should I improve on? So I made use of a single point assessment rubric. And again, this is something that is unique to Singapore. So the idea of the assessment rubric or any rubric that you make use of is really to find out what areas do I want to change in the lesson design? What areas am I going to keep because it's really, really good? Yeah. Then we can now start asking follow-up questions. I'm going to show you how it looks like. And again, there is no one question to ask in terms of follow-up prompts. It's really your conversation with AI itself. Okay. So say, for example, I want it to change the activate learning part because I want gamification to go in. Right. And so ChatGPT says certainly. And you see that the one thing I like is it will then create the table as well. Yeah, so it really adjusts the original lesson plan that it designed, right? And now it's suggesting something like Kahoot quizzes, something that's familiar to actually most of us. Yeah. And it's good that it also justifies, okay, the use of a familiar gamified platform captivates students' learning. So it's good that AI justifies to us. So at least it helps us to think, why are we using these as well? Okay. Now, maybe now I want to promote thinking and discussion. What else can I do? Right? So I'm asking for key questions because key questions are important for our students to learn. And so these are some of the questions that AI will suggest for us. So it's really after AI has come up with that original lesson design, how can I make use of AI's knowledge to continue to upgrade and refine that lesson design? Okay? Right. So I'm sure you'll be more than excited to know how you can make use of this. So let me explain what we're going to do, and then we'll spend a little bit of time to let you have a hands-on to try this out for yourself so that you can ask me more questions. So everything can be found in this bit.ly link. So bit.ly/AI-ELD. All the resources are found here. So when you go into this website, you will see a lot of things. So the first, you will see an online learning module. This is a Google Form one, and this is for Singapore teachers. So this, unfortunately, you can't make use of this, but you can make use of the Google Form. So if, let's say, for example, you want to share this with your colleagues, or you kind of forget everything I've mentioned today, you can go into the Google Form and there will be video tutorials to guide you through the entire process. So feel free to share this link to your friends, to your colleagues, to help them and to make use of this as well. For today, I need you to go to the fourth item, which is the prompt framework itself. In there, you will see many different tabs because people have been making use of this template already. So how you can make use of this template, so please do not go and mess around with somebody else's template. So what I need you to do is you can either make a copy of this entire Google spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet will be yours in your own Google Drive. But if you don't want something sitting in your Google Drive, you want just to make use of it here, you can then duplicate the tab and then it appears as a new tab. But please rename it to your own name so that we know that it's yours and we won't go and mess around with it as well. Okay? So what I need you to do now, and we'll spend about 15 minutes, all right? I need you to try and create your own lesson plan, and feel free to unmute to share your questions, any comments, or any feedback. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the link itself, bit.ly/AI-ELD. So feel free, try it out for yourself, and let me know what you think. Okay, so let's go. Oh, thank you, Kurt. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention this. Okay, let me go into the spreadsheet itself. Hold on, I'll stop share. Because some of you might want to adjust the spreadsheet. Okay, can you see the framework? Okay, so if let's say, okay, so I see some of you are starting already. So if let's say, probably in your country, KAT is not something that you want. So please do not delete the row. I'll show you what happens when you delete the row. The formula goes out of whack. So it doesn't work anymore. So if let's say this is something you don't want, you just delete everything in this row. Just delete it but you have to leave the row there so that it disappears from the part below. Okay, so just in case you couldn't catch the video, so what you should do is you should change this. Now, if you are not in Singapore, if you want to change it to US, Germany, or whatever country you're from, please feel free to do so. Although I've not really found that this does make a difference because ChatGPT doesn't really bother where you come from, honestly. So I have not really found a difference when I change this country, but probably you might want to change it just in case. So what you do is you edit the subject. So like for math, you put in your topic. So after you finish, you will notice that it changes below. So whatever I'm typing, it changes below. Most of the time it will be here, the second part. The first part is kind of standard. It's these few rows. And so the only one that will change is the country. It's the second part that is the one that you will change most of the time. So if let's say this is something that you don't want, okay, feel free to delete it. If 21st century skills is not something that you are bothered too much, you can delete them and it will be deleted from the part below. So what you do is you copy and paste this part below into whatever AI tool you are using. Okay? Right, so I just need to mention this. So feel free to continue exploring and let me know. You can type in the chat if you have any questions or you're not sure of anything. Yeah, so you let me know. Yep, I saw Vanessa's message. You can download the page as an Excel. I hope the formula still works if you download as an Excel. Yep. Okay, cool. Please do share like what AI is generated and let me know what you think as well. Yeah. For those who just joined us, Kendra, you just joined us. What we are doing now is we are making use of a prompt framework or prompt template to get AI to create a lesson plan for us. So head on to this link and you should, oops, let me go back first. Go to this AI-ELD prompt framework and that will bring you to this Excel spreadsheet. You either make a copy of it or you can duplicate the tab so that you can work on it and update the parts in yellow, copy and paste it into ChatGPT or Gemini, sorry, or Microsoft Copilot, any tool you prefer. And actually, you should try. I mean, one thing that we should do is don't just use one AI tool. That's something I've learned. Use all three. It's nothing stopping you from copy and pasting everything into all three tools. And that's what I do. I use the same prompt, just copy and paste into ChatGPT, Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot, and just see what is the difference. And you'll be surprised at what kind of difference it does give you. Yeah, so feel free to play around with it. If you need help, let me know. Thanks for sharing, Gary. Yeah. I mean, I was really excited as well when I first started off this this project. Okay, hold on. Kendra says the link is not working. Let me post it in the chat. It's bit.ly/AIELD. You might need, I can't make it clickable, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Kendra, please check if it's working. Yeah, so as I was saying, Gary, yeah, I was really blown away at how quick it was able to create like a lesson plan. Then the next step is really, how can we use AI to create resources for us? Yeah, like questions. And I'm glad that you were able to generate text to use with students.
The only thing
so
I'm asking it, oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Gary.
I'm asking it to now generate like a canonical text or like something that has been published, and it's pausing. But I'm just not confident that the text that it shares is the best to use with students. I mean, I'm sure it's good, but I'd rather use like an authentic text. And I don't know how to ask it besides if they could choose something that's canonical or published.
I know that in
Could you ask it? Yes, Sarah.
In Copilot, they cite the sources of anything that you ask for, so that it will tell you exactly what website it gets it from. So it might be easier to distinguish the authenticity.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I just I asked it wrong. So maybe canonical confused it. I said, can you just share a text that was published before? And it gave me something from Wonder, which is awesome. Because that's right around the 4th grade level. So
cool.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrongly. Piano teacher, 2 other AI. So other than ChatGPT, the 3 most common ones that we always use is ChatGPT. It used to be Google Bard, but they now renamed it to Google Gemini. But if you type Bard, you still get it. And the third one would be Microsoft Copilot. So these are the 3 most common tools. Of course, there's a lot more. There's Claude AI, Perplexity. Yeah, so there's a lot more that you can use, but these are the 3 most renowned or common ones. Not renowned, common ones. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so it seems like most of you are almost done. Oh yes, I wish it could make worksheets as well, right? Like, yeah. Well, but I guess it's getting there. So another good thing about ChatGPT 4 that I realized was the ability to upload documents. So there are, because we have our own teacher guides. So sometimes if you have your own teacher guides or you have your own syllabus documents or whatever documents that you need and you want ChatGPT to make reference to it, and that's something that ChatGPT 4 is able to do, which 3.5, I don't know whether Bard and Gemini and Copilot does that, but definitely something that ChatGPT 4 can do. You can upload a document and ask it to make reference to that document while designing that lesson. And so then it's more aligned to what probably your state's curriculum is like, rather than it will suggest everything that it knows of. Another reason why I put resources. So if you notice, one of the requirement is resource. When I didn't put it at the first time, ChatGPT, for some reason, it always suggests interactive whiteboards. So I don't know, it may be because it's something very popular in the US that almost everyone has interactive whiteboards, but to ChatGPT, that is technology. But I didn't really like it because it's more to interactive whiteboard. Yeah, there's a lot more things that we can do. So I put in that statement so that it will then, oh, okay, you have Chromebooks, you have this, you have that, and they will give you more examples. All right. Okay, magicschool.ai. Yeah, so thank you for sharing the different, I mean, there are definitely a lot of different tools, AI tools. Yeah, it's quite amazing what AI can do for us. Okay, now, so I want to hear more of your thoughts, and I want to make sure I can remember all the thoughts. So could you please go to this Padlet and share with me two things. One is, now that you've dabbled a little bit into using this framework or this process in generating lesson plans, what aspect of using AI to generate lesson plans are you most excited about? And probably what is the muddiest or the most confusing part about today's session? So could you go on to this link? I will type it in the chat so that we can all access it as well. And just put a new post and share with me what you think. Ooh, wrong. Sorry. Delete. Okay. So please head over to the Padlet and share with me your thoughts. And if you have other questions, please feel free to unmute and ask. Let me switch over to the Padlet. Okay. So clear rubric for your lesson. That's good. Yeah, it's definitely a time saver. And I think that's one of the advantages of using AI. So like I said, it won't give you the perfect lesson plan. Definitely it doesn't replace us as an educator. We still need to bring in our own professional knowledge, but it definitely will save us time. And it kickstarts, like I said, it's a platform to kickstart this whole design process. So you don't have to start from scratch. It gives you a base to work on, yeah, so that you don't have to waste that time starting from scratch. And a lot of other educators that I work with, they always say, hey, AI gives me ideas that I would never really have thought about. Yeah, so that's another plus for using this, or for using AI to create lesson designs or lesson plans. Right. Okay, saves time. Okay, I'm glad able to add your state curriculum, the good text. Yep. Mm-hmm. Simplify the prompts. Yeah, oftentimes it's the hardest part of using AI is the prompts, like what do you say? What do you tell AI? Yeah, even the follow-up prompts, that's another area that I'm trying to work on. Like, what are good follow-up prompts to ask? What do you ask AI as a follow-up question, right? Or follow-up instruction? Stay focused on the end goal. Okay, so muddiest point, make it more specific. I did a lesson on teaching and adding some. Maybe can I just find out this, still figuring out how to make it more specific. What do you mean by this, whoever wrote this?
I just meant like I asked it to make a lesson plan on adding and subtracting fractions. Like I'm not a math teacher, but I support students with this. And it's like, it just basically said, well, just teach them to add and subtract fractions. And like, well, thanks. So it's just very general. Like I just have to learn to like, how do I prompt it into like a deeper dive on like helping me teach that? Like maybe I would ask it like, can you use analogies? I was gonna say one other thing. Last night's keynote speaker had a great idea about asking like, what are 3 common student misconceptions on this topic? And I think that would be a really great prompt to add to that framework you made. I really like the way he put that. So anyways, it's just how to like get a deeper dive. Like I know what I'm trying to do. I just need more help doing it.
Probably that's something you can type into ChatGPT and say, can you like tell me how to teach? Yeah, and see what ChatGPT tells you. Or anyone else wants to chime in to like how can Vanessa get more information out of AI? Anybody?
I think it's as you said, just ask more questions, because I also got a lesson plan and it wasn't bad, but I thought that we could be a little bit more in depth on a few sections. So I basically asked, I was using ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT to enhance certain sections or to modify certain sections of the lesson plan to just to kind of get the outcome that I wanted. So it's one of those things where you can have this iterative process with ChatGPT or any other provider and continue asking them and narrowing down to get the result that you want. It's a little bit an exercise in patience sometimes, just because if the prompt in the beginning gives a little bit of wiggle room, you're just going to have to go back a few times and specify.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I notice is that every time the first iteration of the lesson plan that AI gives, it's very skimpy, it's very generic. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's a flaw in the prompt framework itself, but they don't give enough details. So that's something that we realize, that it's very generic, it's very short. So one follow-up prompt that I always ask, can you give me more details into the lesson plan? And then they will start to break down, give a little bit more details. Yeah, so that could be a follow-up prompt. Can you explain it further or give me more details to the lesson plan? Yeah, so that's something I found interesting about AI. Okay.
I was just thinking like it'd be great. This framework has given me such a good idea, and you could add like details about some of the students in your class that need very specific accommodations, and then those can stay there for your next lesson. But that would really help. So you don't have to repeat it every single time you have that framework, just to change a few things, but have that detail remain.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we're struggling with is, you know, when students are taking tests on the computer, a lot of times the questions they struggle with are the ones that are more technology enhanced. So like the drag and drop, the ones where you have to have multiple responses to a multiple choice. And it's so easy on ChatGPT. I just asked it to create, you know, a drag and drop based assessment for the context clues piece, and it did it using that text wonder, which again is that would take so much time to do that, you know.
Yeah. Another thing I learned is also, if you have like a certain pedagogy, and so say for example, I'm big into station rotation at this point in time, and station rotation is a known pedagogy. It's found on the internet, so AI has access to it. So there are times that I say, can you refer to this website or this frame or structure and design the lesson around it? So that is another useful thing. So probably in terms of a text, you can say you refer to this text and then create the lesson plan or create whatever resources. So that's another thing that we can think about. Yeah. So this one talks about the rubric that Singapore uses for lesson plan. Just let me clarify. What exactly do you mean by rubric that we use?
I thought you'd mentioned that you have a rubric that you used for your lesson planning, like the glow and grow one that you showed us?
Yep. So it is in that bit.ly link.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me just show it to you since we have time. Do you see, when I change tabs, you all can see what I'm doing, right? Okay. So it is under this part here, part 2, lesson plan assessment rubric. So if you click on it, it goes into a Google Doc itself. And so feel free to make a copy of this and you can change it as and when you like. So I made use of a single point rubric because it's easier to make use of, and it's really, so these are all the things that in Singapore we are looking out for in terms of a lesson plan. So we have our learning objectives, success criteria, the evidence of learning. We want to make sure there's constructive alignment as well. Then our key applications of technology, learning mode, the active learning process, and the learning experiences. Yeah. So, I mean, this goes a few ways. You can make use of this. So in my school, we are making use of this not just to assess AI-generated rubrics, but we're also actually making use of this as like a talking point. So we actually called this like a lesson plan talking points, because these are really guiding questions to talk to one another about a lesson design. So you don't have to use this rubric, or if you don't really want to call it an assessment rubric, because some people get a bit frightened by the word assessment and rubric. It's kind of scary. So that's why we rename it lesson plan talking point. It's more informal, it's more casual, but really it's a tool to facilitate a conversation between colleagues about a lesson plan, right? So if you are a coach or a mentor, you can make use of this to talk to your teachers or people who you are mentoring to help them to grow their lesson design as well. Yeah, so feel free to make use of this as well. Yeah, not just for AI generated ones, but for any other lesson plan. Because ultimately, a lesson plan is a lesson plan. Whether is it AI generated or human generated, it is still something we want to build and make it even better. So this is the rubric itself. Okay, let me see. Any other questions? You're welcome. Add prompts for building worksheets.
Do you think that teachers could ultimately like load our evaluation framework into ChatGPT and then put a draft of their lesson and then ask ChatGPT to just make suggestions? Like how much can you put like your whole evaluation system or like the framework in?
Okay, you raised a good point, because this is exactly what another of the teacher that I'm working with. This is actually the second part of our project. If we want to like grow this project further, the next part of the project is exactly what you mentioned, Gary. It's where we get ChatGPT by providing it with this assessment rubric or whatever rubric, can we then get AI to give feedback on our own lesson design? Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, or what prompts do we use to get ChatGPT or AI to give us feedback on our own existing lesson plan? So that's something we have not really tried yet. Yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what AI can or cannot tell you. Yeah. Okay, to add prompts for building worksheets, adding. So, okay, the problem with prompts for building worksheets, YouTube videos, interactive slides is it then boils down to which AI tool you use, because not every tool is able to create worksheets for you. Like if you ask ChatGPT to build a worksheet for you, sometimes it may not be able to do that. ChatGPT itself, if you are using the 3.5 version, it might not, because it's not linked to the internet. So something I think you must need to know about ChatGPT is not connected to the internet. It just basically makes use of whatever information it has at that point in time. Unlike Copilot and Gemini, I think these other two AI tools, they are in a way connected to the internet, so they can actually go into the internet to search for things. ChatGPT, I think ChatGPT 4 does that, but ChatGPT 3.5 doesn't. So if you can add, like, ask it to, can you find a YouTube video for me that's suitable? You can do that, but it depends on what tool you use. It may not be able to do it for you. right? And creating slides. Again, ChatGPT may not be able to create slides. I don't know whether Gemini and Copilot does that as well. So ultimately, the idea for this prompt framework is to give you that lesson plan. But whether or not you can use it to create worksheets, so like some people mentioned Magic School AI is a very powerful tool that you can use to create lesson resources. Yeah, so you can then use those tools to create a lesson resource, and then you use this ChatGPT to create a lesson plan. So that's how you can go around doing it. Hopefully one day everything is in one platform and it creates a lesson plan plus the slides plus whatever, and then yeah, that will be the day that it really will save a lot of our time. Yeah. Okay. Gemini is the best for YouTube. Yeah. Because I mean it's Google anyway. Yep. ChatGPT 4 is connected to the internet. Okay. Time now is 1:25 over on my side. It's about 12 something over your side. We're going to end very, very soon. So let me just end off with one last thing that I need you all to do. So hang on, let me go back to my slides. I need to find it first. Okay. Too many slides. So thank you so much for your time and coming to learn. So this is a requirement from the organizers. Please do share your feedback about the session so that the organizers can improve on this conference. And with that, I really thank all of you for coming today. Please do continue to reach out to me. My email is in the slides. So feel free to drop me an email if you want to like collaborate, if you're really interested in getting AI to give feedback on your own lesson plan. And that's something we can work together to find the best prompts for it. So feel free to drop me an email. Or if you have any questions, any things you want to ask, feel free to do so. All right. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.